Good afternoon. Welcome to Thurston County Board of County Commissioners meeting for Tuesday, January 12th, 2021. My name is Ty Menser, Chair of the board. We have Vice Chair Commissioner Gary Edwards and Commissioner Carolina Mejia, as well as County Manager Mira Chavez in the boardroom, and Clerk of the Board Amy Davis, who's off screen, but I believe she's there.
Yeah, she's here.
Okay. We also have a number of guests, and we'll get to them when their items come up. If the public can follow this meeting through our YouTube, Thurston County YouTube channel, and through our call-in number, 360-252-9020 with a PIN of 1234. We also, I should announce that the governor's OPMA rules have changed, shifted back kind of to where we were a couple of months ago, and the boardroom is open for folks to testify and attend the hearing in person, although the virtual options are still available. So I'm calling this meeting to order, and we will start with the Pledge of Allegiance to be led by Commissioner Mejia.
I pledge allegiance
To the
flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, and now I'm looking for an approval for today's agenda.
I would move to approve the Tuesday, January 12th, 2021 agenda.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Agenda is approved. Next, we have board meeting minutes from December 15th, 2020.
And this is where our new commissioner was not present. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Yeah, okay. I would move to approve the board minutes from December 15th, 2020.
I second that. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Commissioner Mejia is abstaining, correct?
Correct.
Okay, thank you. So that motion carries 2-0, and the board meeting minutes are approved from December 15th. Next is presentations, and we have two today. The first one is a proclamation for Law Enforcement Appreciation Day. We have our County Sheriff, John Snaza, and yeah, so I'm gonna, maybe the county manager can kind of introduce this for us.
Thank you, commissioners. For your consideration is today is to pass a proclamation related to the Law Enforcement Appreciation Day. As you stated, I have the honor to introduce you today to Sheriff John Snaza. I don't think Captain Phillips is here, but Acting Chief Ron Almeida and Deputy Chief Sam Costello all have joined us today. Welcome you all. And at this point, I will give the floor to Sheriff Snaza to say a few words before the board reads the proclamation.
Thank you, Romero. I appreciate it. And I just want to say to the county commissioners, thank you for still making this day or this week very important to not only to the law enforcement community, but to the citizens of Thurston County and each city within Thurston County. And, you know, not to exclude all the law enforcement throughout the state. I just want to say thank you for all your contributions and your dedication to law and justice as well. So thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Sheriff, could you just make sure did we tick through all the guests that are part of the law enforcement? I see Chief Almada and Deputy Chief Costello. I just don't want to miss anybody.
Sir, Commissioner, I got Chief Robert Almada. I've got Deputy Chief Sam Costello, and I've also got Assistant Chief Jay Mason from Tumwater. And I know that I've got Captain Gordon Phillips there as well. And let's see who else we got. that's what I'm showing that we have. And I apologize that our new chief of Tenino isn't there, and Chief Todd Stansel isn't here, but I know that they both wanted me to pass on. Thank you very much for you involving them in this law enforcement appreciation opportunity.
Thank you, Sheriff. I appreciate that. And thanks to all the other law enforcement leaders that we have here today for taking the time. It's not quite the same as being in the boardroom and being able to, sort of shake hands and hand you a copy of the proclamation, but we do appreciate you still being with us. Any comments from commissioners?
I'll do the proclamation here towards the end of this. I'll let my seatmate comment if she wishes.
No, just thank you to everyone, and definitely very appreciative of the work that law enforcement does for us here around Thurston County. Thank you, Sheriff Naza, and thank you to all the police chiefs in the city.
I'm especially appreciative of the challenges that your team has faced. I mean, the pivoting with COVID-19, something you could have possibly have ever imagined dealing with, and the way, booking procedures changed and jail management changed and safety protocols changed and interaction with the public changed. And on top of that, we had, not unprecedented or unexpected civil unrest. I know you guys are trained for that, but you never know when things like that are going to happen. So I know there's been just a whole number of challenges that we feel really comfortable about how our local law enforcement leaders have responded. So I'd like to just mention that. And do we have a proclamation, Commissioner Edwards?
Yes, sir. For today's proclamation, Law Enforcement Appreciation Day, I'm a bit biased, and I'm thankful that I'm able to read this proclamation because I've got a few years in the saddle, so to speak. So I too appreciate all that the law enforcement officers face on a daily basis. Boy, things have changed over the last 40 or 50 years. Okay, whereas Thurston County recognizes the extraordinary service and sacrifice of the men and women in law enforcement who keep our communities safe, enforce the rule of law, and respond in times of crisis. And whereas the health and safety of all Thurston County residents is important to the happiness, prosperity, and well-being of families and communities. And whereas these officers stand as leaders and teachers educating the community about the importance of public safety, and whereas it is important for all Thurston County residents to recognize and understand duties and responsibilities, the dangers faced, and the sacrifices made by our law enforcement officers as they serve to protect us from violence and disorder. Whereas citizens acts of kindness and appreciation for law enforcement officers provide a source of encouragement and support as they confront uncertain and potentially dangerous situations each day. Now, therefore, be it resolved, the Board of County Commissioners hereby proclaims Saturday, January 9th, 2021 as Law Enforcement Appreciation Day in Thurston County, and encourages the community to honor all law enforcement officers who put their lives on the line to protect the lives of others. Adopted this 12th day of January 2021, your Board of County Commissioners.
All right.
I was like, do you clap?
Yeah, and a large round of applause. We need sound effects to go along with this, I guess. And
All right, thank you. Thank you, gentlemen. Appreciate
Thank you for all you do to keep us safe.
Okay, our next item is a proclamation related to the holiday for Martin Luther King Jr. Day. County Manager.
Yep, thank you. I will provide a brief introduction, and then I'll be available for questions if there may be. January 18, 2021 is the observance of Reverend Martin Luther King Jr., which help us to celebrate his legacy. A legacy that is predicated on a dream of equality, social justice, and human rights in our country. So I will encourage the Board of County Commissioners to pass and read this proclamation in celebration to Monday, January 18th, as Martin Luther King Day. Questions?
I have no questions, but a lot of good has come from Dr. King's work. There's no doubt about that.
Okay. No other questions or comments from commissioners? Do we have a proclamation to read?
I thought maybe I cut off our new commissioner.
Sorry, it's hard for me to see the,
Yeah, it's.
wave your hand, Commissioner.
I didn't speak up loud enough, but I was just going to say this is great. As an old resident of Memphis, Tennessee, I know how true and alive his message still is today. Thank you.
Yeah, well, just my only comment is just, you know, I think Dr. King will be somebody we remember for a very, very long time. And even if we had these problems solved, we would be remembering him. But, you know, I think we know from events of 2020 and early 2021 that we do not have these issues resolved. And so for that reason, on top of many others, it's pertinent and important to remember Dr. King and what he stood for, and all of the work we have left to do in our community to achieve the ideals that that he fought for and put his life on the line, frankly, to advance. So with that, we have a proclamation.
Yes. Martin Luther King Jr. Day. Whereas Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., born January 15th, 1929, devoted his life to advancing equality, social justice, and human rights, and began the never-ending work of building a more perfect union. And whereas the Reverend Dr. King embraced the practice of nonviolent civil disobedience, but was assassinated on April 4th, 1968. And Martin Luther King Jr. Day was signed into law in 1983, then first observed in 1986. And whereas the Reverend Dr. King himself proclaimed, "I have a dream that one day this nation will rise up and live out the true meaning of its creed. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal." And whereas the Reverend Dr. King's message, which evolved over time from voting, desegregation to labor rights and peace for all, is still viable today. And whereas the Board of County Commissioners continues its tradition of observance of Dr. King's teachings, and whereas the Board of County Commissioners encourages all people to join in rededication to the principles of equality and justice for all. Now, therefore, be it resolved, the Board of Thurston County Commissioners, in observance of the federal holiday, hereby proclaims Monday, January 18th, 2021, as Martin Luther King Jr. Day in Thurston County, and encourages all citizens to join in the recognition. The Board of Thurston County Commissioners further encourage citizens to follow Dr. King's mission of service to others by participating in projects that will benefit the community. Adopted this 12th day of January 2021. Your Board of County Commissioners.
Thank you, Commissioner Edwards. Appreciate that. And
we need that canned applause, because I don't think people can hear us.
yeah. Okay.
There you go.
Next, we have our opportunity for the public to address the board. I will give some preliminary guidelines here. Board of County Commissioners welcomes comments from the public at all meetings. However, there are some guidelines governing such comments to ensure they are appropriate and do not take advantage of the fact that most meetings are televised. General guidelines include to introduce yourself, including the neighborhood or area of the county in which you reside, address the board, not the audience or staff in your comments. Please silence your cell phones. The board will not respond to the comments, but on an as-needed basis, the county manager will follow up on specific items. Speakers are limited to a total of 3 minutes to address the board and may not donate time to another speaker. The board reserves the right to restrict the person's opportunity to address the meeting for a good cause. No comments that are lewd and offensive, inflammatory, hateful, defamatory, or discriminatory in nature are permitted. Please be respectful. No outbursts of any kind, no comments that are commercial in nature, such as promotion of a for-profit business. Materials provided to the county may be considered public records subject to public release upon request pursuant to the Public Records Act, Chapter 42.56 RCW. And remarks about land use permits that are pending or similar matters that could eventually come before the board and appeal are discouraged. Thank you for cooperation with that. And we have, I've been handed, I don't know if we have any remote participation, but we'll start with the boardroom. I've been handed a list with one name, John Pettit. So we'll start with Mr. Pettit.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. My name is John Pettit. I live out in East Olympia, Washington. Today, I'm going to bring up first thing is it's nice to see an agenda here. And if you take note, the number one thing that's listed on here is opportunity for the public to address the board. I'm making this as a special point because I'm not sure that as commissioners you realize that this meeting is really about the opportunity for the public to address the board. In fact, it's not really here just for you to have a photo op or approve a few different things. It's here for the idea that the public needs to be able to be heard. And interesting enough, I've done a lot of different background look into this issue. And I've told people before, I would really like to see you move to an evening meeting session available like Olympia or Tumwater or Lacey, so the public can actually show up here. Almost 300,000 people, we have one person here in the boardroom. That's not a good thing. Every one of the other meetings, they all have lots of people show up. So you might want to consider changing that. One of the things which I want to emphasize here, and you are all aware I'm not real happy with how the county has been functioning with the OMPA guidelines. The first thing I'm going to mention to you, I dropped off a couple sheets of paper here, is that under the Article 11 of the Washington State Constitution, Section 11, the element of what's being said there is that you can't make county code or regulations that are in conflict with general law. Now, dealing with that exact issue, I was listening to Commissioner Menser earlier talk about next week there's a holiday, so we're going to skip a meeting. Well, state law under the Open Public Meetings Act 4230, particular 070, it states in there that if at any time a regular meeting falls on a holiday, such regular meeting shall be held the next business day. It doesn't say, or if you decide you want to have it or not. This is an opportunity for the public to address the board. Now, county code, you put in a little extra clause, which is the regular meeting shall be held on the next business day or the next consecutive Tuesday. The real question is do you care about following state law, which is superior and to be followed? Or do you just care about creating your own code to not have the public be heard? Let's make the public meetings worthwhile and let's get people involved. The only way you're going to do that is get the meetings moved to the right time and then have regular meetings as required by state law. Thank you.
Thank you. Has anyone else joined in the boardroom that I have?
No, I believe we only have one member of the public join us via Zoom. His name is Mr. Howard Glassletter, I believe. So,
Okay, great. Mr. Glassletter, the floor is yours for 3 minutes.
Mr. Glasser, can you unmute yourself?
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, go
Yes.
ahead, sir.
All right, this is about Tacoma Power Utilities Alder Lake Reservoir management through last year and this year. And the flood that has started and will probably not get too much worse, but it's here. This is a question that I would like the Board of County Commissioners to ask Tacoma Power. It is expected that the it's expected that the generators should have begun running at full capacity after Labor Day, but they did not. The reduced generation continued off and on, for months until just over a week ago. I could not understand why they were running the generators at a lower rate when they could have been running them higher and making more money because there was plenty of water to do this. Then I thought they're trying to ensure the reservoir was kept well above the required FERC license fall winter minimum of 37 feet below capacity. That's what I originally thought. This reduced generation had to have an effect on the bottom line. In other words, they didn't make as much money. However, this lower outflow amount has continued well beyond the need to simply stay above the 37-foot fall winter minimum level as required by the FERC license. TPU, or Tacoma Power, appears to have passed up converting water to electricity over the past few months. This lack of activity has allowed the dam to rise close to capacity. The question is, why? That water is now being dumped. It didn't make money for Tacoma Power and is now threatening the residents in Thurston County's part of Nisqually Valley. So I'd like the county commissioners to ask Tacoma Power and the Tacoma government, if necessary, what was the reason for operating this way? Thank you. Oh, by the way, I'm a lower Nisqually Valley resident. I've been here for 50 years and I've spent more time than I want to monitoring the NOAA site to see just how Tacoma Power is operating. And this year is very strange.
Thank you, Mr. Glassetter. Appreciate that. I believe that's it for public comment then.
Let me check the conference call, Commissioner. Good afternoon for those members of the public who have joined us this afternoon via conference call. If you would like to provide public testimony in front of the Board of County Commissioners this afternoon, please unmute yourself, state your name, where you reside in the county. You have 3 minutes. None, sir.
Okay, we'll move forward. Item 2 on today's agenda is County Manager's update.
Yeah, thank you. I have a couple of updates for you. I'd like to follow up to a public testimony you received last week. That was from Mr. Tony Wilson. In addition to some of the comments, he relayed some information related to the Case Road in the Maytown area. And it was water over the roadway that he stated. So I follow up some of his comments with Public Works, and Public Works staff is the steps that they're taking as soon as this road has water overtopping onto the surface. They check the county-owned culverts to make sure they're clear, and they were. In this particular case, it appears that one of privately owned culverts upstream is plugged. So Public Works staff is going to follow up with the property owner to see if we can resolve that issue. Just like to follow up to the comment that Mr. Tony Wilson provided last week. The second item that I have for you, and this is more of an announcement to the public, in terms of over the coming months, appraisers with the Thurston County Assessor's Office are working to inspect property. As required by state law, when conducting their inspections, field appraisers will arrive in white vehicles with the Thurston County logo an emblem on the door, as well as with a short yellow light bar on top of it. County staff from the assessor's office will wear marked vests or jackets. And also they will wear all the COVID-19 requirements in conducting their business. Because of the number of properties, they need to be assessed by state law. Appraisers will not be able to make appointments in advance to those property owners. So I will encourage all the property owners to be at the lookout for county staff that will be conducting their business in terms of assessing their county properties. If any members of the public would like to set an appointment in advance to have the field review, you can reach out to the assessor's office at 360-867-2200. And again, for the members of the public who would like to set an appointment for the review of their property, please contact the assessor's office at 360-867-2200. Thank you.
Any questions from the board regarding the county manager items?
No questions.
No, sir.
Okay, let's move to consent items. We have 3A through 3C. Your motion.
Yes, I would move to approve consent items 3A through 3C.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Any further discussion?
No, sir.
No, sir.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Consent items 3A through 3C are approved. Department item 4, Auditor's Office. This is approval of voucher lists. I don't know if this is essentially usually a consent item, but we're handling it separately since Commissioner Mejia was not sworn in during the expenditures that are collected here. County managers, is there more to say about this item?
Yeah, that is correct, Commissioner. Under normal circumstances, you will see the approval of the voucher list under your consent agenda. In this particular case, some of the voucher lists are from December 7th, December 14th, December 21st, and December 28th, 2020. And Commissioner Mejia was not in office at that time, so that will give the ability to exercise her recusal from this vote.
And recognizing that, I'll make a motion. I would move to approve the voucher list for the week of December 7th, 2020, for a combined amount of $1,486,714.96. For December 14th, 2020, for a combined amount of $1,916,651.70. For December 21st, 2020, for a combined amount of $1,746,321.10. And for December 28th, 2020, for a combined amount of $2,966,693.84.
Second that motion. It's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion?
No, sir.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Commissioner Mejia abstains for the record. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Thank you. Just getting that clear. So that motion carries 2-0, and the vouchers as laid out in the motion are approved. Item number 5, Central Services, a bid award for Thurston County Corrections Facility Recreation Yard. I'll turn it to County Manager.
Yeah, this is for your consideration, awarding a contract for work to be conducted at the Thurston County Jail, and I will have Michael Crow to walk us through the details of this proposal.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. I'm Michael Crow with Central Services. I'm here today to ask you to award a new contract for the recreation yard at Thurston County Corrections Facility. The project will provide a new outdoor exercise holding cell at the Thurston County Jail located within the existing Sally Port. Work will include new footings and installation of a prefabricated mesh holding cell consisting of 2 walls, a gate, mesh ceilings, metal roof, flashing, lighting, and audiovisual components. On December 21st, 2020, 3 bids were received, with the apparent low bid from J.A. Morris Construction LLC of Olympia, Washington, in the amount of $75,500, including additive alternate 1, not including tax and contingency. We recommend the award of the contract to J.A. Morris Construction LLC in the amount not to exceed $90,856.70, which includes the base bid, the Washington State sales tax, and up to a 10% contingency. This project is within appropriations. Central Services will communicate with the affected stakeholders regarding scheduled work. The project supports County Strategic Plan number 16 to provide safe, secure, accessible, functional facilities to effectively house county services and associated workforce. Thank you, and I'm glad to answer any questions that you might have.
Questions or comments from commissioners for Mr. Michael?
Yes, I have a comment.
Go ahead, Commissioner Edwards.
Or a question. Mr. Crow, this is not necessarily an expansion of that correctional facility. This is a fairness issue so that female inmates are given the same exercise ability as the males. Is that right?
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay. I just wanted to clarify that particular issue. Thank you very much, sir. That's it for me.
Commissioner Mejia?
I just have one concern. And probably Robin will be the person to answer this for me. I mean, my concern is we're currently in a pandemic. I'm not sure how much that center will even, the recreation center will even be used at the moment. And even though $90,000 is a smaller sum, I mean, I feel like either we can, you know, wait, we don't know what our, where we're gonna be economically in a couple months and or where we're gonna be headed. I'm just concerned on whether it's the right time to do this. Robin, can you answer that for me, please?
Thank you, Commissioner. I would recommend that we go forward. The board was made aware probably a year ago of the lack of appropriate space for the female inmates to engage in recreation. And we, the board at that time made a commitment to address this concern. And I believe that there was conversation about potential litigation at the time that this will assist us in avoiding. So the money is in a reserve. It is available for this use. I do believe that it is money well spent and we should go forward. My recommendation to the board is to go forward now.
Thank you.
Commissioner Edwards, did you have another comment?
Oh, I would just comment that the exposure on litigation is a big concern. I agree very much with Commissioner Mejia as far as is it the right time. I don't think there is a good time to spend $90,000 on something like this, but then on the other hand, I realize we cannot afford litigation either. So a big piece of this is limiting our exposure, but I truly respect her position on this, so thank you.
Right. I feel limited in what I can say because a lot of the discussion was in an executive session.
Well, aside from the, I'll just pipe in here. It's, I think the concerns raised are certainly valid. And I think those were the concerns that drove the board to pause the $20 to $25 million flex unit expenditure. And given that we paused that, this is kind of a way to manage with what we've got in order to, whether it's a litigation or not, just to provide appropriate service to our all the folks in our correctional facility. So I just want to provide that broader context. I think that this is it's sensible in light of the fact that we had a need and we paused a much larger project based on the very concerns that Commissioner Mejia raises. So I'm comfortable doing this at this point. Without any further questions, is there a motion?
Yes, sir. I would move to award a contract not to exceed $90,856.70, which includes the base bid, Washington State sales tax, and up to 10% contingency for the Thurston County Corrections Facility Recreation Yard, project number 25607, to J.A. Morris Construction, LLC of Olympia, Washington, and authorize the Assistant County Manager to sign the contract and any change orders due to unforeseen conditions only, not for changes in scope, that do not exceed 10%.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion?
No, sir.
No, sir.
None. All in favor, say aye.
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 Aye. The motion carries 3-0. Thank you. Thank you, Michael.
Thank you very much, commissioners.
Item 6 on today's agenda is Community Planning and Economic Development Department and relates to a contract amendment with our Thurston Regional Planning Council.
Thank you, Commissioner. This particular item is related to the Chief Clerk Services, providing assistance to the Washington State Boundary Review Board. This Boundary Review Board is the one who reviews any proposed annexations by the cities here in Thurston County and provides an impartial review of their proposal. And this has been a process that we have exercised for the last 3 years. And I let Jeremy Davis to present the item and give us a little additional perspective on this.
Good afternoon, Chair Menser, Commissioners. Jeremy Davis. I'm with the Community Planning and Economic Development Department. And as a County Manager indicated, today I'm here to request the board approve the Director of Community Planning and Economic Development to execute an amendment to the current 2018 contract with Thurston Regional Planning Council to provide Chief Clerk services for the Washington State Boundary Review Board for Thurston County. The Washington State Boundary Review Board for Thurston County is a quasi-judicial review board for annexations for cities and certain special purpose districts in Thurston County. And as the County Manager indicated, we first executed this contract in 2018. Amendment number 4 is to amend the budget to add funding for the 2021 year. And we come back to you on an annual basis. The Thurston County staff is working very closely with the cities this year to make sure that we can try and address any annexation issues before the annexations get to the Boundary Review Board so that we can be judicious with this budget amount. The county is required by state law to fund the activities of the Boundary Review Board under Chapter 3693. The actual cost, of course, may be higher or lower depending on the number of annexations and mergers received by the Boundary Review Board in 2021. Just so the board is aware, when the expenses reach 75% of the allocated funding, TRPC or Thurston Regional Planning Council is required to prepare an estimate for the needs for the Boundary Review Board for the remainder of the year, and staff will return back to the Board of County Commissioners to request that additional funding. Again, the request is for $20,000 for 2021. This is the same amount as was budgeted in 2020. And this fulfills the strategic plan initiative number 7, which is to balance development with the preservation of the county's rural character, natural areas, and open spaces. And I'm here to answer any questions the board may have.
The board have questions for Jeremy. Commissioner Mejia?
I do not.
No, but I would like to point out to the public that we've had numerous discussions on this, and that's why there are no questions today.
Absolutely, and I have no questions either, so I'm ready to entertain a motion.
I would like to move to approve a contract amendment with Thurston Regional Planning Council to provide chief clerk services for the Washington State Boundary Review Board for Thurston County in 2021 with an amount of $20,000 and authorize the Director of Community Planning and Economic Development to execute the amendment and future contract amendments which do not increase the contract budget.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion?
No, sir.
No, sir.
Okay, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Thank you, Jeremy.
Thank you, commissioners. Have a great afternoon.
You too.
Thank you, Jeremy.
Next, we'll move to item 7, Public Health and Social Services. This is a contract to the Community Action Council of Lewis, Mason, and Thurston counties for rental assistance.
Let me just introduce the item, Commissioner. As we all know, this COVID-19 pandemic has resulted in an impact to many individuals here in the county, the state, the country, perhaps across the world. And the Board of County Commissioners last year set aside or allocated coronavirus relief fund to help those citizens in need related to rental assistance and utility assistance. The coronavirus relief fund ended on December 31st, 2020. And you had a discussion this past week as how the board would like to continue to provide support to those citizens who are in need in rental assistance and utility assistance until the new federal bill comes into play, which I believe is going to be here in the next 2 months. So there is a need for a bridge to continue to provide those services and assistance. And the board has last week decided to bring this item forward for your formal consideration. Tom Webster is going to walk you through a little more in detail related to this item.
Great. Good afternoon, Commissioners. Tom Webster with Public Health and Social Services. So as the county manager said, we're requesting a contract with Community Action Council of Lewis, Mason, and Thurston counties for $372,806 of what we call 1406 funds. And 1406, substitute House Bill 1406, is a relatively new funding source that was approved by the board in 2019. We began collecting this revenue in December of 2019. And so that amount represents the total 1406 revenue that was collected through the end of 2020, through December of 2020. This was not a new tax, but it's a retained tax, sales tax that would otherwise go to the state. So it's a retention of this tax with the intended use to support affordable housing activities, including rental assistance. So we're requesting to use the full amount of 1406 revenue we collected in December 2019 through December of 2020 for rental assistance to Community Action Council. All of this rental assistance will be used to support residents in Thurston County. And then, as the county manager said, we really see this as a bridge until new revenue sources from the Department of Treasury under the latest congressional relief bill arrives to the county. So, and I'm happy to answer any other questions you may have.
We have questions for Tom on this item, Commissioner Mejia.
I have one statement, if I could.
Yes, sir.
Tom did a very good job explaining to our viewers that this is not a new tax. It's taxes that have always been collected, but it was a diversion that took that tax from being sent into the state to be utilized to allowing this to be spent here locally on housing issues. So I'd just like to reiterate, it was not a new tax created, but a diversion authorized by the legislature, and Tom did a good job of explaining that. Thank you.
Tom, I got a couple of questions for you. As far as rental assistance, you know, this is a continuation of a program with a sort of a different funding source. Can you recap for our public who might not have been tracking this, how much was spent on rental assistance in Thurston County, like in 2020? I mean, you know, from leading up to this amount of money.
Yeah, so there was actually two substantial sources of revenue in 2021. Was we received from the State Department of Commerce was the Eviction Rent Assistance Program, or ERAP. For that, the county received approximately $3 million that was spent in rent assistance between August and December. The commissioners also allocated approximately $1.4 to $1.5 million of the COVID CRF, coronavirus relief funds, that also supported rental assistance activities. So in total, between August and December, the county, through Community Action Council, spent around $4.5 million in rental assistance activities.
Okay, thank you. So this is obviously a demonstrated need in the community. Now, rent assistance is a homeless prevention strategy, right? Fair to say?
That is correct. These funds will be targeted to households who are less than 60% of area median income and who've been impacted by COVID. And so it's really helping them maintain their housing so they do not fall into homelessness. And they have to be behind on a rental payment. So it's folks, one of the requirements we have is that they have missed a full rental months of rent or partial months of rent payment.
And do they walk into the Community Action Council and walk out with a wad of cash?
No, it doesn't quite work that way. They can reach out to Community Action Council through their website, or also call to make an appointment. Once they're qualified, Community Action Council works with a landlord, and payment is made directly to the applicant's property manager or landlord. So the payment does not go to the tenant itself, it goes directly to the landlord.
I bring that up just because, to me, I feel like it's important for the public to understand that the commissioners have confidence in this program because there are guardrails on any kind of abuse, and it's supportive of not only supporting the families that are able to keep their housing and avoid homelessness, it's also supporting the property owners and the property managers and the businesses that are involved in that business in the community. So we feel like it's an impactful program, and we don't want there to be this gap between now and the next wave of federal relief that has been passed by Congress. So thank you, Tom. Is there a motion?
Yes, sir. I would move to approve a contract with Community Action Council of Lewis, Mason, and Thurston counties for $372,806 using SHB Senate House Bill, Substitute House Bill 1406 funds to provide rental assistance to Thurston County residents, and authorize the Director of Public Health and Social Services to sign the contract and any amendments that does not change the amount by more than 10%.
I second.
Been moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Thank you, Tom.
Thank you.
Takes us to item 8. It falls under the county manager's heading, but 8A is commissioners reporting on whatever they want to report on, frankly, what they've been working on, anything interesting that they want to report to the public, community events, board work sessions, etc. I'll start with Commissioner Edwards.
Okay, this past week, the 911 board met, making decisions on the operations of the communications center. The fair board met, and the fair board made a declaration for the upcoming fair, should we be able to have that fair, realizing we're in the middle of this COVID issue. And they've decided that the theme would be cheers for 150 years, because the fair has now been in existence for 150 years if we have our fair this year. Nisqually flood issues, that was a big part of my week. The reopening of schools and how that could be accomplished in this era of COVID-19. And then questions about the vaccine process and making sure people are made the vaccine available for them when the time comes. All very complicated issues. So that's my report. Thank you.
Commissioner Mejia.
So I attended the SWAC, that's the Solid Waste Advisory Council, and they passed the management plan last week. Also, there's a survey out that the Agricultural Advisory Board, along with Jennifer Davis, worked really hard on. So we're asking citizens to fill that out. I spoke with Richard, who's the chair of the Agricultural Advisory Board, and he's very excited about it. I've also received several comments about reopening of our schools and vaccines, so we'll see how our Board of Health meeting goes this afternoon.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to report on a changing of the guard in the Superior Court. Two of the events I attended, one was the swearing out, the retirement event for Judge Ann Hirsch, who is our longest serving Superior Court judge and a judge that I did trials in front of as an attorney and many important legal matters, and a judge that was well loved here in our local community and bench. She was not just as a judge sitting on the bench, but involved in policy reform and trauma-informed practices, and really expanding the best practices in our family court in particular, what I think she is the mark that she'll be most remembered for. So that was nice, very well-attended event at the tail end of last week. And then the beginning of this week, her successor, Sharonda Amamillo, who is who's our brand new Superior Court judge, the first person of color to serve on the Thurston County bench. And it's interesting that in the history of Thurston County, she's only the 36th Superior Court judge. So it's, even though this county has been around, it's pretty elite group, a small group of judges that have ever served. And Judge Amamillo is somebody that I worked with. She worked for the Thurston County Public Defense for a period of time. I knew her in her role there. We had some clients that went from her to me and back and forth in the juvenile court system. And so I'm very, I always believe that public defenders make great judges. And I can prove that because where I came from before Thurston County was in Alaska. And for whatever reason, in Alaska, a very disproportionate number of judges are came from public defense. And the best judges, in my opinion, came from that background. So very excited to see somebody with that experience. And she just has an amazing biography, attending law school while being on active duty, while raising kids. I mean, her biography and path to the judiciary is pretty inspiring. So welcome to her and goodbye to Judge Hirsch. And that was also extremely well attended by current judges, former judges, lawyers in the community, overall community members, family. It was just, they were both very well done events by our Superior Court. So I will stop there, and the next item will be for the county manager to review our combined schedule.
Yeah, thank you, Commissioners. Let me walk you through your upcoming schedule for this week, is where at least 2 commissioners will be present. You may have individual appointments on your individual calendars, and those will not be part of my report. Here in just about 7 minutes, you have a public hearing related to taking public testimony on amendments to the fiscal year 2019 Urban Housing Development Plan. Wednesday, January 13th at noon, you have a meeting with your appointed directors. 1 in the afternoon, you have a briefing related to an emergency repair to the Nisqually Cutoff Road Bridge. 1:30, January 13th, you have a briefing related to the Comcast franchise agreement. And that is a long overdue item that you will be considering. 2 in the afternoon, you have a briefing related to the Medic 1 levy restoration. And at 5 in the afternoon, you have invited to participate on the Thurston Regional Planning Council Regional Housing Action Plan Forum. Moving on to Thursday, January 14th, 9:30 in the morning, you have a briefing related to the Heritage Grant Award Program. Moving on to 10 o'clock in the morning on January 14th, you have your commissioners check-in. and an agenda will be posted 24 hours in advance. Next week, Monday, January 18th, the courthouse and county offices are closed in observance to the Martin Luther King Jr. Day. Then you'll reconvene on Tuesday, January 19th, 9 in the morning as an agenda setter to review the agenda for the following week, since the meeting of January 19 has been canceled. However, at 11:30 on Tuesday, January 19th, Commissioner Menser will be, as the chair of the Board of County Commissioners, will be given the Thurston County State of the Community related on the Thurston County Chamber of Commerce. And in the afternoon, on January 19th at 3 in the afternoon, you have a public hearing related to an amendment to the Transportation Improvement Program. However, not listed in your appointment, at 2:30, I'm going to be working an opportunity for you to have participate on the National Association of County Officials Forum. Is an event. They will remember to those citizens who have lost their lives as a result of the COVID-19 emergency. I will be bringing some proposals to you this coming Thursday during your commissioners check-in. That's all I have for you. Thank you.
Thank you, and I believe that takes us to the end. We are adjourned. We will be beginning our public hearing on a separate Zoom, correct?
That is correct, a separate Zoom.
In 4 minutes, so roughly 4 minutes on a separate meeting, public hearing regarding the HUD action plan. Thank you, we're adjourned for today.